Okay, give me a second here. All right, so we are live now. All right. So first things first, welcome everyone to this channel. And today I'm going to have a discussion with my good friend here and former gym partner, Phelimon. Um, Now, this is going to be very informal. I'm starting this sort of podcast to get to talk to my friends once in a while and then also know what's up with them. So first, furthermore, I hope I've given you an enough of an introduction. I know like if I want to go over it, I will not finish. The next 5 minutes will discuss like all the great things you can do. So without having to waste your time, I would like for you to quickly just run us through who you are, and then we can go from there.
No, yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to be here to speak with you. So I'm Philemon. I am Ghanaian. I very young of age. I went to school in Kenya. I went to Phelimon Senior High School, moved on to KNUST, and then came to the US. Did computer science, and yeah, that's pretty much. I'm a software engineer by profession. Um, but yeah, I'm learning carpentry on the side too as well. So.
Carpentry, that's new. Uh, we'll get to that in a second. I didn't know that. Now, first thing, I know like you're from Ghana, but which part of Ghana did you grow up in, and what like being a software engineer is not an easy feat, right? And then to be doing it at probably the biggest company in the world is also a great feat. And you've worked for other companies as well up to this. So just kind of out of curiosity, um, what kind of environment did you grow up in? How did that shape you to begin with?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, before I go on, I want to put out this disclaimer. Whatever I say here, my opinion doesn't represent that of my employer. Independent entity, not speaking on behalf of my employer. So I grew up in Accra. I grew up in Medina, specifically Ashalboche. I mean, yeah. Grew up there, spent up to probably like 20. No, yeah, I spent a good chunk of my years in Accra. And then I moved on to senior high school. So I went to St. Peter's Mission School. Shout out PESCO. And then went to a Fairfield Senior High School where I did general science. And then I moved on to KNUST. Honestly, a lot of my passion for going to computer science came from my brother. A lot of folks may know him, Benjamin. Like he was the first person in the family who did that. And I think I was very amazed at how I lived in the same apartment with him, the same home with him. And then you see him creating apps right there. It's like before then, you assume to create apps to do things is a big thing, is a huge thing, is a white people thing, you know? So to be in the same house with him and see him create these things, I was amazed. So I decided to go do computer science. I know during then, computer science wasn't a big thing. People were telling me to go do computer engineering. I was like, no, like
Mhm.
I did a research and I was like, nah, computer engineering people do hardware. So I don't want hardware. I want to do software because that's what I was interested in. So I went to KNUST, did 2 years of computer science education there. Amazing group of friends I had there. During that period, I don't know how much to talk about that phase. But I moved on to the US, did 3 years of computer science education, and then went on. But I'll say even before the education, I was doing software.
Right. So just kind of out of curiosity, I think like moving from Ghana to the US is very different, right? And I
Mhm.
think
Yeah,
like, so personally, when I first explored doing something that's technical like computer science in Ghana,
yeah.
one thing that people always said was like, you're just going to go learn theory and apply nothing. So there's no value to do it. What was your experience like, doing in like KNUST and then coming here? What was so different?
So that is true. It's true about the theory part because I remember we used to run code on board. Like you have to, yeah, the TO come and say, okay, this algorithm, come and explain, and you have to do it on the board and everything. Um, Honestly, being in Ghana, you would say, oh, that is terrible, that is bad. That's what I used to think. But coming to the US, I realized that that form of training kind of helped a lot because you realize that in the US system, when you're doing a lot of software engineering tables, you have to interviews, you have to do a lot of whiteboard interviews. So remembering that in Ghana we used to write our algorithms on the board, you have to figure that out and all of that. It helped a lot because I was like, oh, whiteboard interviews, we've been doing them in Ghana. I did those for 2 years, so it was easier. I I also do think that a lot of the things that we help that I crammed into my head during the computer science education in KNS was very helpful. I didn't
Mhm.
have a lot of issues doing computer science here. It became very easier because okay, you were already doing this the hard way. Now you came to an easy part of it. You just transition and do the easy stuff. So I appreciated that education, that form of education I had in Ghana. But I would say that shouldn't be it for 4 years, especially if you're in Ghana, because that's bad for 4 years.
Mm.
You have to do all of that. But I think having that prior to moving here helped me to transition pretty well.
So I think like what I sense I'm hearing is like at the time when you were doing this in Ghana, you felt like this was not the right way to do it. And then you
Correct.
moved to a different country and you realized actually you only did it the hardest way possible. So it
Correct.
made it easier, right? So like the challenges in the science became like your strength in adapting to any environment.
Exactly.
Nice. Now, so do you so like I'm gonna quickly push to like what do you think will be considered your first big break or key opportunity because to have moved first to come to the US and also sort of like in terms of to really push you from being like a Ghanaian that was just trying to learn the old Ghanaian way to realizing the right place to do is the US and like
Mhm.
how that transition happened for you overall.
Big break. I mean, honestly, I think I had big dreams from the very beginning. And I personally, I don't know where it came from, but I used to read a lot of books, and it also came
Hmm.
from my family. Like my one of my brothers used to read a lot of like inspirational, motivational books, so I used to pick them up. So I had a lot of self-belief, not to the point that I was arrogant, no, but I had a lot of self-belief that okay, like if I set up my mind to things, I'm going to get them done, and I'm going to do them. So I wouldn't say there was necessarily anything that was like first break. I mean, it was preparation towards it. Like I
Hmm.
knew eventually I was going to do something big. I don't think I'm doing something big now, but I knew eventually I was going to do something big. I just didn't know what a timeline looked like or when it was going to happen. But I knew deep down that Charlie, we're going to get somewhere huge, you know? So I mean, yeah, I don't know if I answered the big break question, but I
No,
feel like
you did. You did.
yeah,
I think like so just like chime in here. Like you mentioned something that I think is very interesting for us Ghanaians, right? Like
yeah,
you didn't okay, you had big dreams, but you also didn't want to seem cocky or
correct,
overconfident, right? I think
correct.
like in my experience in America, you really have to talk, like you have to
Yeah,
express yourself, like in a way
yeah,
that most Ghanaians would consider, right? But here, that's the way you do it to like show to get opportunity to show your skills, right? How would you
yeah.
say you adapted to that kind of change, right? I mean, without like first of all, what is your opinion of the two different words? Where it's like, even if you're saying the truth, it can be seen as being too cocky. And then how you as a Ghanaian overcame that change in sort of being too shy about talking about what you can versus having to do more of that in your day to day, even in school, primarily,
Yeah,
I believe, right?
yeah. Honestly, it took a while to overcome. And because of that, I didn't make a lot of friends in college. Like
Mm,
honestly, I could literally count on my hands. And and in as much as I didn't make a lot of friends, I really didn't care. Like it wasn't like I was suffering deep down not being able to make friends because, bro, like me, I was confident coming in. I was confident coming in, and I have a way I psych myself with new environments. It, so I think the only time it became a problem was when I started my first new job. So
mhm.
like, I'll have one-on-ones with my manager and tell me like I got to speak about my work. Like there is no way people are going to know what I'm doing if I don't speak about the work because I mean you come from a place where relatively we try to like close the things you don't want to seem
Right.
like dragging it, cacao, you know. So it was my managers who I had this idea that the work will show. Like you do the work and it will show. Yes, it did show, but they told me like they might know, maybe a step higher might know, but if you do not speak about it or like talk about the things you are doing, all the other people around you may not really know. They might see you around, they might see your code or whatever, but they don't know what. So I have still not gotten over it where like I could sit people down and tell them, oh yes, this, but I feel like I'm at a point where um I people have won a lot of trust or a little bit of
Mhm,
trust, but like
mhm.
it's like okay, I speak a little bit about it. I have a little bit of trust, so it's like okay, it's going okay, you know. Yeah, but I haven't really gotten over it.
No, I think like I personally really struggle with that, right? Because
Uh,
I think like back in the day, so right now that I sit down and I think about my life, it's like I
uh,
had all these opportunities to post so many good things about myself in
yep,
LinkedIn, and I
yep,
never did. And then
yep,
now I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, that was why people were doing that, Because like now you see it in the work environment, even if you are the best worker and you are
yep,
not adding the talking part to it, you
yep,
tend to overlooked and your impact gets reduced. So it's something that I guess like coming from a very shy based culture, we have to
yep,
like, find a way to get around it.
yep.
Now, in your case, like sort of what would you think is like most crucial thing um that like coming here has taught you about both life and about your field generally?
That's a very deep question. What has coming here taught me? Hmm. What coming here has taught me is everybody gets a shot at an opportunity.
Mm,
Um, yeah, like see, when I moved here, the kind of opportunities I got, I was like, wow, like that's like even in my first semester, bro, the kind of companies I interviewed with, that was I wouldn't have thought about that in my wildest dreams if I was
right.
like I literally interviewed with every big tech you could think about when in my first semester here in the US. Um, so I do think that being here leveled the playing ground.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. In as much as we talk about a lot of discrimination and the cacao, I didn't feel left out. You know, I didn't feel like I had to pay somebody or know somebody to get an opportunity. I felt like I just had to um, meet the qualifications. I could be given a shot at that opportunity. Yeah.
I
So that's
see.
that's honestly that's what I think. I think about. Yeah.
Just kind of like going back to your point about coming here and then being able to like quickly know like the opportunity. I mean, it's not perfectly a
Yeah.
meritocracy, but for the most part, if you put in the work, you are bound to get your own shot, right? So, how would you say you prepare yourself for those high impact roles? Like even at the times where you are not there yet, right? Like
Yeah.
you're going to start somewhere, like whilst you're hoping for the best. Like, what do you do to keep your skills sharp as you wait for that, what you really believe like you're capable of doing in a day
Yeah.
to day?
No, no, absolutely. I mean, so I worked on a lot of projects. I did work on a lot, and I mean, we worked on a huge project together. Yeah, yeah, I did work on a lot of projects. I mean, I started working on projects in Ghana. In Ghana, I built the first campus marketplace, something that I
Mm.
haven't really talked about or like made a lot of noise about. As of the time I built it, and a lot of the KNSC folk in my badge, they actually changed my name. They call because the site was called Metobi. It was a marketplace on campus.
Yeah.
A lot of friends on campus call me Metobi. But yeah, it was during that time I could hit my I don't know, but I guess based on the stat I had at that time, it was the first campus marketplace where people, in as much as it didn't really succeed, it was a big deal. I worked on a lot of projects like did did fintech, worked on a lot of personal projects.
I see.
Yeah, and I tried my best to do a lot of internships. In Ghana, I did an internship at Unilever, like right before I
Oh,
came.
that's big. Yeah.
I worked in the IT department. Um, so yeah, I would say doing projects, keep on grinding, like, and I guess it comes from a love for what you are doing. I
Right.
particularly was very passionate about the being able to create software for human use wherever I find myself. So yeah, I think that is what helped a lot. Yeah, I do think that's what helped a lot. Yeah,
So you mentioned like so I know I mean we worked together on a project on
yeah,
Pine during the
yeah,
pandemic, and
yeah.
I think like I would like to just zero in on that a little bit, right?
Mhm.
Like maybe like I would say what I felt was going on with the Ghanaian market and why we are very different from the US market
Yeah,
is personally I felt like regardless of how good our product was, there was a point where we really couldn't break a particular barrier unless you actually knew somebody way up there, right?
true.
Like I would say that's one thing that I saw in the difference in the way that purchases are in the different countries. And then
Uh,
unfortunately for me, I never really tried to build anything in Ghana, right? Would you like you talked about Metobi? I know you've since not been working on that because of course there's
yeah.
bigger things for you to do now. Like for I mean, obviously you're really talented, and then if the systems were right, you might not have even needed to even come to America, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
would you say that in your case, what are some of the things that maybe people who are looking forward to keep like the brightest people in Ghana there to build the nation? What do you think, like in your experience, like having built something, and then moving to a different country? What would be your advice for them? Like, what could be done better generally?
I mean, I do think in Ghana we have and I mean I'm going to speak for Ghana because I'm from Ghana.
Right,
Ghana we do have this thing about age.
right.
Like they feel like if you are not at a certain age, you shouldn't have the right to build certain things. I think we need to break that barrier of okay, because low key when we're building Pine, I felt like maybe if we were a little bit grown, had a little bit of accolades, it probably would have been easier to push in. You know, the people would not be saying, "Oh, go and schedule meeting with this one, go schedule meeting with this one." Um, yeah, I think we need to understand that innovation comes in comes in all ages. Like anybody could do that. We need to create that environment to. We need to cut out the age barrier in innovating. Also, we need to there are a lot of gatekeepers.
Mhm,
Like there
mhm.
are a lot of gatekeepers in the system. We need to get away. We need to take away the gatekeepers. Like ensure that everybody has a shot. Ensure that things are systematic. Like if you do A, you should be able to get to B. Like I don't have to go get a connection here to get through something. You know, like you remember when we were trying to get a
Yep.
license and a whole lot of things, you know. Yeah, I think we just need to make the environments open for Ghanaians. Because, bro, like I look on Twitter and I see the number of Ghanaians who started startups and they've stopped.
Mhm.
This is wild. Like all of these people have now moved out. Like
Of
there were
course.
people I was following on Twitter who I knew were very cracked. All of these people have moved on to Europe, to the US doing stuff, you know, and they could have been building things. The other thing is when you build solutions for Africa, the Africans do not want to use it. And when I say Africans, not the people, the higher ups, right? They are looking for solutions outside. You've built a solution for the government, but it's nah, like they'll go and look for solution in Europe. So me that I built a solution at the end of the day, no, it is going to it's going to collapse. You know, yeah, we
Yeah.
need to, that's pretty much that's a little bit that I think could help out. I mean, I don't know what policies here, but anyway.
That's you mentioned a lot of good things that I've actually been also thinking about because personally I remember like at least when we tried to like get something in Nigeria and then we just kept doing like essentially cold contacting and
Yeah.
then we managed to get one person that knew somebody and we started getting some response to it, got
Yeah.
to meet Visa and all these other companies. But like that essentially is the problem, right? Because I mean if innovation, as you rightly said, comes in all ages, in all tribes, in all religions. And then if you happen to be from the wrong religion, the wrong tribe, the wrong area, then your innovation gets shut out instantly, especially in these African countries. Then ultimately you're just going to be like, you know what, is it worth it? Let me just go and build for some other people. And then of course, like you said in Twitter, it's a lot of talented Ghanaians, right? And one of them being you, there's a lot of other guys as well that
Yeah.
we that have moved on to like just do the right thing, who were doing the right thing in Ghana, but then didn't get a chance, and then they got their big break here.
Yeah.
Um, Now, can you like talk about a little bit about how you stay sharp and continue growing? I mean, of course, like I'm sure like you moved from Ghana to here, things have changed. How do you do things to like keep growing your own way
Yeah.
and in your day to day and maybe anything interesting that you think like other people can adapt who are in your field?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Honestly, I don't think there's anything special. I like doing projects. I
Hmm.
like the practical stuff. So I like doing a lot of projects. I just keep on like working on projects in different languages, just things that I find interesting. I just work on projects. Yeah. That's pretty much how I keep those skills. I mean, I don't know if I'm keeping the skill sharp, but I work on I work on a lot of projects. Try to do a lot of lead code in our field where you kind of solve a lot
Right, 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 right.
of written questions. That's the only reason for that is to be able to pass interviews. But aside of that, I do work on a side project. Yeah,
So you mentioned lead code, right? So like I come from an economist background and then like
yeah,
I've been more doing a little more like data science related work.
yeah.
Like one thing that I found very, how do I put it, very surprising is the degree of grit that lead code actually is. But then you get to the company and it's like why did I have to go through all this? Because you never ever use any
Correct.
of those samples in anything you do, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's just like, I guess, like, just do the thing you have to do to get in there. And then, amazingly, I guess that's what you've been doing for a while now. And then, I guess, hopefully, it's good enough for the American economy. But that's one thing that I wish I could change about the way companies hire here, where, like, we need something to change. I don't know how
Yeah.
best to do it, right? But bringing back to you on this then, like what do you think, what's something that you have seen, I mean, you have been international from other parts of the world that you think should potentially could be adapted from somewhere else to the US economy? It really doesn't have to be in your field that you think would be helpful for people who are here primarily.
So if you could repeat that question again, but before that, I just wanted to put a little in the lead code part. So 90 out of 100, you wouldn't use anything in the leak code that you do in the algorithm. But sometimes
Right,
the 10% where you actually need to employ that knowledge. So it's good to do. Also, in terms of interviewing, I think it's just kind of you don't they don't really know. Like see people coming out of college, right?
right.
You cannot really interview them based on the project that okay go work on a project so sometimes coming out of college that's like the best thing they could do to kind of ensure that you just know basic data structures and algorithms and
Mhm.
know to basically code in order to get in but in terms of I guess it becomes something else when you the more senior you become because like okay I have proven track record why are you letting me do lead code but in terms
Right.
and new folks coming into the field, it does make a lot of sense because
Right,
you cannot judge them on anything else than the ability to be able to logically solve problems. Yeah.
right.
And I think the next question, if you could ask that again.
Yeah, I was saying like what would be something that you wish that can be changed? We talked so much about what things can be changed about Ghana, right? What
Yeah.
is something that you wish we could bring from Ghana to here to make our system here better?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's the idea of community.
I
That
see.
that I think community in Ghana is amazing. Here you is work, home, go somewhere, go chill and come back. In
Yeah,
Ghana, you go out, you see people. There's the idea of community. Like you see people, you chat with people, you feel great. I think that's one of the things that I wish if the West could import the idea of being open, having conversations, like people hanging out outside, like aside the bars. Yeah, it feels like you need to go to the bars to make friends and hang out. But in
yeah, yeah.
you just walk in your neighborhood, say hi to somebody. Yeah, I think that idea of community is yeah, it's helpful. And if they could import it, I feel like the life expectancy and happiness level and everything is going to jump very high. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say food too. I don't like the food here, but that's a different
Oh yeah,
conversation.
the food. Yeah, I mean, food.
Um, Now, moving on, I'm trying to get us to wrap up and keep within the 40 minutes limit.
Yeah,
I don't want this to be honestly too long. So
so,
looking forward, right? What advice would you give someone from your similar background today, right? Similar background being like imagine some kid in Medina interested in doing computer science, maybe
yeah,
being advised to do computer engineering.
yeah.
What would you tell them?
I'll tell you, your dreams are valid and you are going to get there, but you need to prepare. And I think
Yeah.
that's what terrible, like prepare. Like sometimes I think back and think that if I was in Ghana, where if I didn't get the opportunity to come to the US to study, where would I have been? And sometimes I think about it in a positive light that maybe I would have prepared adequately and probably moved on to Europe or somewhere where they easily hire engineers. Even move to the US because they could do those visa stuff. I would say your dreams are valid. Like, keep on doing projects, keep on applying for internships. Like, forget about all the barriers, just apply for them. Like, projects, do lead code. I know in Ghana we don't talk about it a lot, but data structures and algorithms, like, get it. Like, if you get it, bro, you're going to go to places you don't believe you'd ever reach there. And dream big. Like, everything is going to happen. Everything you dream about, work towards it, and it's going to happen.
Nice. Now still on the same looking forward thing, right? If you could do one thing differently, and then you have the benefit of time and afterthought, right?
Yeah,
Uh, what would you have done differently?
I would have studied my data structures very well from them. I'm not
Okay.
gonna lie. Like, yeah, like the when I studied in the US, the kind of opportunities I got because I wasn't well versed in the data structures and algorithms. I mean, I'd worked on projects and all of that. I didn't miss all of them, but I missed a good chunk of them. And going back, I feel like if I had studied thoroughly, done all the data structure and algorithms, bro. Yeah, that's the only thing. But aside that, I mean, I enjoyed my journey. I enjoyed where I went through to get here. I think every part of the process has been very important for me, and like I have never regretted the process that I went through. So yeah, but that's a little regret that I had. Yeah,
So more lead code, for sure. At least because you never know when you need it.
correct.
Um, One last question before I ask for some book recommendations and maybe course recommendations as well.
Yeah,
Like, are there any dreams you're still chasing? I mean, Pine didn't work. Are you chasing any other dreams?
but I'm chasing startup dreams. Like, I know for sure at some point in time, I'm going to
Hmm.
do a huge startup like that. That is for certain. Like those, that's that's what I. that's what's next for me. Like just either two things. Yeah, and funny thing, like I missed a lot of huge startup opportunities. It's crazy. I think somebody reached out to me from YC about the CTO position, and I said no.
Yeah.
And then 6 months down the line, I saw they got into YC, and I'm like, what? Like that is
Did it
crazy. Like
did they IPO? Is it a company that is still going through the processes, or how did that end?
no, it's a startup. They are still going. They're very fresh.
Oh, nice.
They are very fresh. I think they went into YC, I think last year. And like till date, I'm like, what? Like that was a huge opportunity. Like I could have been in YC. But anyway, I think yeah, for me, it's a startup. Like eventually I just want to build something cool that people could use. That's it. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you for your time, but just like one last couple of recommendations. If
Yeah.
you could give us like a book recommendation, either something you've read or something you're looking forward to if, to read when you have time. And then also like a course recommendation. I know like in computer science, you guys do a lot of courses besides just the regular I guess coursework you do in school.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah. So one book recommendation, I've forgotten the name, but it's a book. Yeah, that was a book recommendation. It's a book that is very important that I wish I've forgotten the name. It's I'll give two if I
Okay.
remember one. There's a book about, let me try and find it. Um it's a book about Goliath.
Mm-hmm.
It just talks about how you don't have to. Oh, hold on, let me find the book. Actually, I think it would be better if anybody could read that book. I wish. Yeah, the book is on my bedside. Oh yes, it is David and Goliath, Underdogs, Misfits, and the Art of Battling Giants. It was written by Malcolm Gladwell.
Oh,
Um, yeah,
nice.
you've read
I
it.
know Gladwell. I've read a number of his books, Black
All right.
Swans and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
David and Goliath, underdogs, misfits, and the art of battling giants. It just talks about the story, like essentially takes you on the part of anything you set your mind to, you could do it. You don't have to be skilled. You don't have to be a giant. You need to understand that, okay, you could do it and figure out a way to do it. Right? You don't have to be huge to do what you want to do. Right? Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much a book, a good book that I'm reading right now that I think. Another book is Hyper Focus by Chris Bailey. Essentially, it's how to be more productive in the world of distraction. Those are my book recommendations. Um, and course,
Nice.
yeah, course recommendations. I hate studying. I wanted to get out of I hate studying. So honestly, do not have any course recommendations. But hey, AI is a big word now. Go check it out. I think it's a good way. Yeah, a lot of people are talking about AI. Go check the AI courses. You never know where it will land you.
Nice. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. This is like our first ever episode, and I appreciate Phil for getting time to like come talk to us about his life. Next week we're going to have a different topic, different discussion from a different person. So tune in and thank you, Phil.
Absolutely, I appreciate you for having me, and I'm glad to be the